Was on this computer. Okay, very good.
Ну, я в видео своих всегда говорю, что если вы идете в длительный сухой голод, вы должны быть абсолютно спокойны.
So, on my videos, I always say that if you are doing prolonged dry fasting, you should be absolutely calm towards that.
Позитивны.
You should be positive.
Потому что состояние отказа от еды, от воды, оно усиливает вашу энергетику и ваши все состояния.
Because when you temporarily get rid of food and of water, when you abstain from those substances, it strengthens different inner states that you are in.
Если у вас, вот почему говорят, что человек, когда голодный, он злой становится, да?
So there is a saying that a person, when he or she is hungry, they become negative.
То есть ему нехватка, поел, вроде как-то расслабился.
And then after they eat, they kind of relax.
А вы представьте, что он не ест, а вот это состояние злости осталось.
Yeah, and now just imagine that this person in this kind of state doesn't eat, they aren't eating, but this little tension, this inner tension remains.
Да оно его просто разрушать начнет, и хорошо, если только его, а не он начнет там.
And then this inner tension, this inner anger will start destroying him, but also the surroundings.
Все отношения и внешний мир.
Different relationships, in general, the external world.
Как-то взаимодействовать с ним. Поэтому, чтобы с сознанием что-то происходило, вы уже должны это сознание подготовить ко входу.
And therefore, if you want to really change your consciousness by fasting, you should prepare your consciousness beforehand.
Это длительное голодание. Опять не должно быть страха никакого.
You shouldn't have any fear.
Мне почему проще с этим, да, что вот то, что я рассказал, что нету страха, то есть, ну помру и помру, я всегда говорю, что...
And why is it easier for me in terms of all those experiments? Because I don't really have fear of death. I kind of, okay, you know, I kind of think that, okay, so I will die, no problem.
Просыпаюсь, не помер, ну, значит, можно дальше идти.
Yeah, and then when I wake up in the morning, I think to myself, okay, so I'm not dead today, so now I can proceed further.
Вот, но меня расклад, в принципе, любой устраивает, и такой, и такой. То есть...
But I have total agreement with this particular circumstance and with that particular circumstance.
Я как бы принимаю оба варианта.
And I'm accepting both options.
Ну, даже взвешивать не собираюсь. Поэтому вот эти длительные сухие для меня как бы эксперимент, ну, без... То есть финал в любом варианте устраивает. То есть...
Yeah, and therefore all those prolonged dry fasts, it's an experiment for me, but I'm willing to accept whatever results will be there.
Выйду просто так, что-то там случится или не случится, неважно.
And it doesn't matter for me whether something will happen or nothing will happen.
То есть сознание, по сути, у меня уже немножко так изменено, и я уж не знаю, куда его дальше изменять.
Yeah, so I can say that my consciousness has been shifted.
Вот.
Okay, that's it. So that was a very short one. So, Rory, what do you think? Laura, what do you think about it?
Well, I can. Sorry, go ahead, Rory.
No, you carry on. My thing was muted. You carry on, Laura. I'll go after you.
Okay. Yeah, I can understand what he means, definitely, because I experience that, you know, when I'm hungry.
Очень нежелательно.
Sorry. Okay. Yeah.
And maybe even a little bit of anxiety, you know, as well as anger, you know. About, you know, it's like the anticipation.
Yes,
So,
I understand.
And then if it gets delayed, then I start to panic, you know, like it's kind of like a fear.
Yeah.
like a craving thing, which is I think emotional. Yeah.
Yes, 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 yes. Yeah, he always stresses in many of his videos that you should be like we should constantly work on our positivity because we are on this detox path, on this fasting path, constantly because it just goes hand by hand. You know, he says that when we fast, all those things get amplified. So all our inner states. So it's super important to be very, very positive about everything. Today, I was watching one of his videos about basic principles for success. So he says, basically, you can even you can even see one piece of dust, and you can be super happy about that. Wow, it is floating in the air, and there is air, and also that you have your body intact, you have your hands, and you can touch things. You know, you can just be so happy like a small child about those things. And that's basically, he says, that's the energy that he is trying to impart, to emanate towards people and to help people with this kind of unlimited and unconditional happiness about everything. And he says that it's absolutely absolute must on this fasting path.
Wow, that's nice. I remember that from a previous video, and I kind of recall it from time to time. Yeah, that one must be like kind of really relaxed and in a peaceful state of mind. But the
Mm-hmm.
thing is, when you fast, yeah, you go into a different kind of state, you know, like you know, after several weeks now on a liquid diet again, I,
Yes.
I'm starting to realize like yeah, your life starts changing, you know, all those things you used to do don't exist anymore. So you're carving
Mm-hmm.
out a new reality for yourself. And
Yes.
sometimes that's actually quite unsettling and ungrounding.
Yes.
And I can kind of, and I'm starting to understand why the body detoxes relatively slowly. It's to also to enable you just to psychologically adapt. Because if it all came at once or in one week, you'd be in a bit of trouble, I think. So
Yeah.
it's quite quite a mind game, isn't it? Especially when you dry fast. That's why I'm not dry fasting at the moment. I'm only doing water on these days and juice the other days. It's just that
Yes.
um, I find that it really ungrounds me when I go into ketosis and autophagy and stuff, which happens for me usually within about 36 hours, and then I start to feel very ungrounded because my heart is pounding, and um, so I've decided not to do any dry fasting for a couple of months
Mm-hmm.
and just ease into it. And yeah, that the water fasting seems to completely give me some benefits of the dry fast, but at the same time remaining my blood pressure and all that kind of stuff.
Ah, okay, very interesting. So you are practicing water fasts now, once a week?
Yeah, so when you guys dry fast, I'm doing a water fast instead.
Ah, okay, okay. And I'm just
Yeah.
curious, what quantities of water do you consume in like 24 hours or 36 hours?
Well, I think it's only like the second or third week I'm doing it, so I'm still kind of feeling my way into it. You
Yes.
know, I'm doing urine therapy, so
Uh-huh.
I do about a liter of urine from the day before, and then
Okay.
so that's what I did today, and then I did a liter of about a liter of water,
Yes.
and then a little bit more urine, maybe another 500 mils. So it's about 2.5 liters. And I think they say the bare minimum is about 3 liters you should do. So I'm kind of just going to stick around there for a while and see. I
Mm-hmm.
definitely feel like I could go less, but I don't want to bring on the ketosis. So I want to ward against off that, you know?
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. Hmm. Very interesting. Very interesting. Yeah, yeah. What helps me with these kind of emotional things, different emotional detox, is that I practice Vipassana meditation. And in Vipassana meditation, you're required to actually observe different things that come up and develop certain equanimity towards them. So, for example, different sensations of the body, different other things, emotional states. So, equanimity is very good, and you actually work on it. You practice it daily. So, yeah, so
Mm.
it's really helpful. On one hand, it does not suppress all those things, But on the other hand, it cuts this vicious circle of, for example, something comes to me and I don't want it, and then I start getting crazy because it is still there, but I don't want it, things like that. Because the original thing that comes, oftentimes it's quite harmless. It's just certain sensation of the body or certain emotional states. But so when the equanimity is there, it's quite harmless. It just comes and goes. But what keeps it at place is our like craving towards that, or if it's a nice, pleasant state, or aversion, if it is unpleasant state, and that actually what holds it like glue. So, but it requires quite a lot of practice, you know, to remain equanimous. Yeah, but it's really, really helpful. All
Nice,
this.
Ari.
Yeah.
Very inspiring.
Yeah. Also this guy, he actually holds retreats of like that. That's his main practice. His main practice is not like fasting or going on, you know, food vacations or something like that. His main practice is meditation, and all the rest is like secondary. So yeah, and he talks a lot about the connection between meditation, like why it is actually necessary to meditate on this path of detox and you know, fasting and stuff like that. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's so much more that's bigger than you, and it can be quite overwhelming because you don't understand it. But to touch a place that gives you trust in the process and build confidence in yourself, it's so important, especially when you know, navigating the unknown, which can be like that during fasting, you know. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, you kind of, it's a very interesting lifestyle, this fasting lifestyle, because on one hand you feel that there is, the potential is there, you're almost touching that, but on the other hand it's lots of trials and errors, and you do not feel great all the time and stuff like that, but you kind of feel that you know, it's truth, you know, the potential is there, you just need to proceed a little bit more. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I agree with you completely. And that's why it's so helpful to have these meetings and hear about your experiences and everyone else's experiences, and also these videos, because it just builds confidence. It's like, oh, well, you know, he did it, and these are the tools, and he was quite relaxed, and yeah, it just even just the tone of his voice, you know, it's not sometimes not even the, you know, what's coming out of his mouth.
Yes.
It's just knowing that this person is confident.
Absolutely, yeah. And those meetings are super important, you know, and I really, really want to develop it to bring in more people, because we are sharing, you know, we start all the time with sharing our weekly experiences, and then we can learn, and we can actually gradually build this honesty and this ability to really express ourselves, even if the experience wasn't so great, and just to learn, but also if the experience was good, and then other people can use it. So yeah, and it's not books, it's live communication. It has so much value for me, at least, and I hope also for other people.
Definitely.
Yeah. Laura, would you like to share anything before we get into the video?
No, that's okay. I think I'm okay right now.
Okay, cool. So this video is quite long. I've chosen just few parts of it so that we understand the main ideas. And yeah, and in my opinion, those are jewels, like jewels of wisdom. So let's start. I'm just checking again if you can listen to it.
Очень нежелательно.
Can you hear the sound?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, cool. Okay, so let's start. We'll just do yeah, I will do some part, and then we'll skip another part, and then because I have these times in front of me that I wanted to translate. So
Очень нежелательно садиться за стол и также готовить в плохом настроении.
so he says it is really, really undesirable to start eating and to prepare food when you are in a bad mood.
Если вы там с кем-то там поругались, лучше за стол не садитесь.
If you had a quarrel with another person, it's better just not to eat.
Потому что вы будете съедать вот это состояние.
because you are going to eat this particular state.
У вас внутри вот эта озлобленность, агрессия, а вы еще едите вот такой
You have this anger and aggression inside of you, and you add to that this food intake.
ощущение, что у вас пища просто ядом может стать.
And then it seems that your food might actually become a poison.
Поэтому лучше сделайте паузу, подождите или помиритесь, там уже как-то вот.
So it's better if you take a pause, if you make peace with this person.
Вот, тогда питайтесь.
And then you can start eating.
То есть, потому что у нас как, застолье, за этим застольем, за разговорами съедается немерено.
Yeah, and also when you sit around the table with other people and you talk and you kind of have a feast, you will for sure overeat. People overeat big time during these meetings.
А потом что-то люди из-за стола не могут вылезти, там ремни расстегивают под столом, потому что
And then people cannot even get out of the table. They open their belts
животы уже вот такие.
because they have these huge bellies.
Вот. А когда им говорят, вкусная булочка-то была, какая?
And then you might ask them, okay, so did you enjoy this little bread, this piece of bread? And then he says, but which bread?
Булочка? Да как ты десяток съел, да?
But you have just had 10 pieces of this bread.
Я и не заметил. Да
But and then he says, yeah, but I did not notice.
потому что ты был увлечен разговором, это как вот езда за рулем, да?
Because you were absorbed by talks. It's like driving and
Отвлечение на
like driving and talking on the phone with someone else.
телефон. То есть, если вы едите, мне нравится больше слова «вкушаете», да?
So if you eat, and I like more the term partake of food. If you partake of food,
то соединяйтесь с этой едой, это по сути становится некой медитацией.
so just try to really connect with this food, and then it becomes a kind of a meditation.
То есть это как раз вот момент сейчас, в котором все вот это происходит.
And then we find ourselves in here and now. So and that's where everything happens. Okay, so that was one piece jewel of wisdom that I wanted to share, and then another one.
Ну вот чтобы я вопрос мог задать. Вот, допустим, перед тобой стоит задача энергично двигаться.
Okay, and then another guy asks him a question. So, for example, you now have to move a lot, be very energetic for the next so and so hours.
Ну, допустим, идти быстрым шагом сутки. Ну, допустим.
For example, for 24 hours you have to walk, and walk pretty rapidly.
В Питер, да? Поменялся бы твой режим питания, и если поменялся, то ты бы чтобы больше бы ел, чаще бы ел, что-то особенное.
How would you approach it food-wise? Would you change your style of eating? Would you increase your food intake, etc.?
Вот я на себя примеряю, что вот забег, например, в суточном марафоне. Как построить свое питание? Нужно.
Because this guy says, I personally participate in long runs that might last for 24 hours. So how should I build my food intake?
Ну, взять ту же Шаталову, да, может быть, слышал кто-нибудь про нее?
So there was another Russian health enthusiasm. Her name was, she's not alive anymore. Her name was Shatalova. She died, I think it's that I'm adding it from myself. She died in the age of 90, close to 95, I think, something like that.
Вот. Она, по-моему, по пустыне там шла с людьми.
So she took a group of people into the desert.
В жару, и у них там что-то там понемножку было совсем водички.
And it was very hot, and they only had very, very small amounts of water.
И они шли-то там, я нисколько не буду врать, просто не помню, сколько они шли, но они шли довольно-таки много.
And I don't really remember how long they were walking, but they were walking pretty far for a long time.
Вот. И я не думаю, что в процессе, особенно, ведь многие знают, что если ты поел и там на пробежку пошел, да, там в боку колет очень быстро, то есть на...
And you know that after you eat, and then you want to do like vigorous exercise, for example, running, you will feel different sensations. For example, on your right, you will feel some kind of needles.
Наполненный желудок не дает активно, потому что энергия затрачивается на переваривание,
Because energy gets wasted, gets spent for digestion
а не на процесс бега. Потому что
and not for running.
что происходит, когда вы питаетесь? Кровообращение начинает... У нас кишечник весь пропитан кровеносными сосудами.
Because what happens when you have your food intake? Our intestines and our stomach are full of blood vessels.
Когда вы питаетесь, когда начинают всасываться вот эти полезные вещества, вот это кровообращение с большого круга, которое должно по всему телу идти, оно больше идет в желудок у нас.
And when there is this digestion process, when different beneficial substances get absorbed, then lots of blood goes from the big circle towards this area of the stomach.
В желудок, в кишечник,
И на обогрев тела. Да.
на обогрев тела.
Also to keep the body warm.
Да. А ты в этот момент еще и бежишь.
And you want to add running towards that.
То есть или у тебя плохо переваривается, у тебя потом там застой в кишечнике, или у тебя слабость, потому что ты не можешь дойти.
So it will be either some kind of impaired digestion and things might stuck in your stomach, in your intestines, or you might experience weakness because it's difficult for you to move.
Вот. На моем примере, я вот сколько тоже и бегал, и ходил, на отказе от еды, я не имею в виду на длительных, да, но без еды ты, вот даже мы в Индии, когда там были.
And I want now to share my own experience because while abstaining from food, I would run, I would walk, and I'm not talking here about really long abstinence from food. But for example, let's take my trip to India. We would walk quite a lot there.
Мы путешествовали очень много пешком.
So we walked tremendous amount of kilometers by foot.
Без той же еды идешь, вообще ничего не заморачивает.
And then when you walk without food, you don't even think about it. You just walk and walk.
Вот. И насчет опять длительности вот марафонов, ты же марафонами, да, занимаешься? Наверное, ты знаешь, что такое второе дыхание.
And now I want to ask you something. As a marathoner, a person who runs marathon, do you know what second wind means?
Испытывал его?
Have you experienced it?
Ну да.
Yes.
Вот что происходило, когда ты его испытывал, помнишь?
So what happened when you experienced this second wind? Do you remember?
Конечно.
Что?
Ну, легкость. То есть у меня где-то на марафоне, это где-то после 15-го километра.
So it was lightness. For me, it was about more or less after the 15th kilometer during the marathon.
У меня вот включается какой-то режим. Что
Вот ты успел обращать внимание, какой режим включается?
So he says that after about the 15th kilometer, there is certain mode that gets in. And then he asks, okay, so have you noticed how exactly this mode gets turned on?
Почему становится вдруг легко?
Why suddenly it becomes easier?
Ну, я просто знаю, что вот у меня вот эта отсечка всегда. И это...
Отсечка чего?
So he says, I just know that something gets disconnected there. And then he asks, so what gets disconnected?
По времени, наверное, или энергетических затрат, не знаю.
Maybe spending of energy, he says.
Энергетических затрат. А почему идут энергетические затраты, а вдруг становится легко? То есть только...
So why did it happen that you spend such and such amount of energy, and then at some point you feel this lightness and you start spending less energy?
Что затраты были, и вдруг, что они прекратились?
So how come they stopped?
Может, мозг отключается. О!
And then someone else says, maybe the brain gets disconnected, and he says, exactly.
Слияние с процессом становишься сам бегом.
Вот.
And then just a moment.
Может, мозг отключается. О!
Слияние с процессом становишься сам.
Yeah. So the other guy says, yeah, you just become one with the process. You become the run.
Бегом.
Вот. Совершенно.
And it becomes meditation.
Смотри, что когда ты бежишь, то есть
Exactly. So he says, exactly. When you're running,
Первый, вот мы в медитациях тоже много этого, когда в динамике тоже что-то делаем. Мы сейчас такую слабую динамику делаем, есть такая более жесткая. Вот. Я иду, или та же планка, вот, например, почему я говорю, отключить мозг. Стоишь или бежишь, и ум все время говорит, мне тяжело, я устал.
so while running, for example, you run or you do some other physical exercise, and the mind always says,
То есть он как бы все время начинает сам себя накручивать.
the mind basically starts getting crazy. It starts telling, like you are tired, etc.
И идет вот эта утечка энергии ментальная.
And then there is loss of mental energy. Like lots of energy get lost through those mental processes.
Вот ты вроде бежишь, и тебе кажется, что ты ни о чем не думаешь. А он
So on one hand, you are running, and it looks to you like you're not thinking about anything.
там шепчет себе, нашептывает, мне
But your mind is whispering.
тяжело,
It's heavy.
сколько еще бежать, там надо
I still have a huge distance to run.
было, наверное, побольше поесть. То есть у него целые там диалоги между собой.
I should have eaten more.
Ну да, там еще с болями же связано.
Да. И вдруг что происходит? Просто или он устает, или на какой-то момент просто он замолкает.
And suddenly what happens? So it's just either mind just gets tired or somehow it just stops at a particular moment.
Вот обрати потом внимание, когда бегаешь, в этот момент просто замолкает ум.
So just notice every time you run, at some point, the mind becomes silent.
И вот эта энергия, которая уходила вот на эту болтанку умственную, она идет на твой физический бег.
And this energy that otherwise would have been spent for all these thinking processes, it goes back into the body and contributes to your running.
Я вот просто замечал тоже вот эти вещи, вот если что-то делаешь, и ты думаешь, что как мне это тяжело, то есть, а потом вдруг раз.
Yeah, and I also noticed it on myself. Sometimes you do something and then there is this thought in the mind that it's really, really difficult and heavy. And then all at once,
Или останавливаешь диалог, или действительно
it's either you just stop this inner dialogue,
сливаешься с процессом, но
or you just become one with the process.
сливание с процессом как раз у тебя внимание из мысли перетекает в то, что ты делаешь.
And when you get one, when you emerge into the process, then your attention from your thinking goes into what you are doing.
Ты чувствуешь каждую мышцу, там механизм такой, чух, сердце бьется, кровь, то есть ты как бы вот как опять с едой, да, внимание.
So you start feeling everything. You start feeling your heart pounding. You start feeling your muscles, and it's similar to how it goes with the food, with the emerging into this eating process.
Ты вот этим вниманием помогаешь пищеварению.
Because when you are one with this eating process, then your attention actually assists digestion.
Ты съедаешь этот кусочек, ты чувствуешь, как он проходит, сглатывается.
And then you are able to eat a little piece, and you really feel how it gets into your digestion tract, how it moves there,
Усваивается. Вот если ты будешь
how it gets absorbed.
есть в таком режиме, да, то есть там действительно там одним яблоком наедаешься.
And if this is your mode of eating, then you just eat one apple and you feel completely full.
А может там таз съесть и о чем-то мечтать, и усвоение будет намного хуже.
But on the other hand, if you have a whole bowl of food in front of you, and while eating you are daydreaming, you are fantasizing, then you might eat the whole bowl, and the digestion will be pretty impaired.
Получается, что твой ответ, что у тебя бы ничего не поменялось.
Ничего бы не поменялось.
So it turns out that your answer to my question is that you wouldn't change anything. He says, no, I wouldn't change anything.
Я бы не стал там тем более больше есть, да.
And especially I wouldn't increase my food intake.
И, кстати, не знаю, слышал или нет, сейчас многие марафонцы и легкоатлеты, те, которые на сыроедении, у них результаты лучше, чем у мясоедов.
And by the way, I don't know if you heard or not, lots of athletes now, those who do raw foods, they show better results than the omnivores. people who eat meat. Actually, it's people who eat meat specifically.
И сейчас мясоеды вынуждены отказываться в пользу результатов, переходить вот...
Да, это известно.
Yeah, and lots of people who eat meat now, they are switching to raw foods just to get better results in sports.
Да, то есть... Ну, ухо-то он откусил кому-то, не съел.
Yeah, like Mike Tyson, the boxer is a vegetarian.
Но сейчас много, да, и там говорят, и Шварценеггер тоже.
Lots of them, Schwarzenegger,
Да, Джеки Чан тоже.
Да.
Chan.
А?
Что это?
В свое время, ну, все мы это
Я
мясо.
вот ставил эксперимент. Вот у нас в Питере есть дорога жизни, марафон зимой проводится. И мы с друзьями обычно бегаем двойной. То есть мы
So, and then the other guy says, you know, I made an experiment. We have, where I live, we have a particular track, particular route of the marathon. And my friends and I ran this particular route twice.
утром раньше стартуем от финиша, добегаем до старта, а потом
So we start from the finishing line and we get to the starting point, and then we run the whole marathon again with everyone.
вместе со всеми назад возвращаемся. И я вот в этом году, взял, конечно, с собой еды, но я пробежал туда и обратно, и всего где-то 55 километров я не ел и не пил.
So and then this year I took some food with me, but then I found myself running 55 kilometers without eating anything.
А потом меня рубануло, и все. Стал активно питаться.
Yeah, so after that I did get into food, but before that I just found myself not eating during this long distance.
Вот. Ну тут, да, надо экспериментировать, но поймите, что у нас вот эта ментальность, она очень много в нас значит.
Yeah, you should experiment with that, but all this mental thing, mental chattering, like mental state, matters a lot within us.
Мы не обращаем внимания вот на мысли, которые в голове, да, то
We usually don't pay attention to our thoughts that are in our mind.
есть ведемся на поводу часто у них, а это откачка
We usually follow whatever thoughts we have,
энергии очень сильная.
but through that we lose huge amounts of energy.
Поэтому вот как раз дисциплина ума, вот чем мы и занимаемся, да, той же медитацией,
Yeah, so the discipline of the mind super important, and that's actually what we are doing here, meditations.
это только отстройка мыслительного процесса.
So all those meditations, we're basically building and structuring our thinking processes.
Она также важна вот в процессе отказа от еды, потому что
And also it is very, very important in the process of abstaining from food.
если человек не ест и при этом думает, какой я бедный, несчастный, как бы я сейчас что-то...
Because if a person is abstaining from food, but during this time they think that how poor am I would rather eat something, etc.
Ну, вы понимаете, что это процесс мучения будет.
It's going to be the process of torture, of suffering.
Как только у вас мучение, вызывается страдание, гормоны уже не те идут, которые вам на пользу идут.
And when you start suffering, when you start kind of living in this mode of torture, then obviously you produce certain hormones in your body that are not the hormones that should be there.
И механизм может разрушаться на том же голодании.
Yeah, and the organism might get destroyed because of fasting.
Ну, многие там, вот та же стрессовая ситуация, кораблекрушение, катастрофа какая-то, и люди
Why do you think it happens? For example, some kind of a stressful situation such as a sinking ship or crashing plane.
там через неделю умирают.
And then people after 1 week without food, people die. Why do you think it happens?
Потому что они не знают, будет у них питание, не будет,
Because they don't know whether they will have food or not,
что с этим делать. И все, и
what to do.
плюс еще яды, химикаты, которые гормональная система у нас вырабатывается, никуда.
And then all those hormones, they produce certain poisons in the body.
Куда они деваются, и получается, что они самоотравление.
And then it turns out that those people just poison themselves with different expression of with different things that were produced by their bodies, different hormones.
Вот как, когда даже водку пьют, закусывают. А тут вы не едите, а водку пьете, считай, да, то есть, ну, яд какой-то, ну, это так очень условно.
It's like drinking vodka or taking another kind of poison, just without any other food intake, these hormonal things.
Это получается такой довольно-таки сильная интоксикация.
So, and then it becomes quite a strong intoxication.
Поэтому старайтесь, чтобы и мысли были менее токсичны, да,
So you should try to have thoughts that are less toxic.
и поступки,
Also your deeds should be less toxic.
и слова тоже.
And also your words should be less toxic.
Не, ну, конечно, на длительных дистанциях к этому приходишь, потому что мысль тебя может остановить, и это уже, я-то давно это понимаю.
And this guy says, yes, of course. So especially when you run this long distance, you start realizing the power of thoughts over you. So that those thoughts might even stop you.
И практикую. Другое дело,
And I do practice it.
как долго я могу это, потому что психическая усталость, она тоже в какой-то момент наступает.
The question is, how long can I control my mind? Because this psychic tiredness also happens at certain point.
Когда ты не можешь
So it happens that you cannot,
поддерживать вот это свое состояние.
that you cannot, the point comes when you cannot maintain this kind of strong mental state.
И любой звук или там человек может тебя пожалеть, ой, ты устал, садись, и ты садишься, потому что
And particular sounds or certain people that take pity on you, they might say something full of pity towards you, and then you just sit down.
если нет воли, просто нет
You kind of lose your willpower.
такой.
Вот как раз вот эта психическая, ну, не усталость, а сопротивляемость к этой психической усталости, она вырабатывается медитацией дзадзен.
So exactly. So this kind of resistance towards this mental tiredness, we develop it in Zazen meditation.
Когда ты сидишь, вот тут ум пытается пожалеть,
Because in this meditation, you are sitting and your mind throws at you different things, such as pity.
да пойдем, там столько дел, да у меня уже спина болит, да вот
The mind might say, yeah, let's go from here. You have lots of things to do, and you also have this pain in your back.
надо там положение поменять. Вот. И вот ты с ним как бы
You have to change the posture.
разбираешься, или я его игнорирую. По сути, ведь что получается? Он начинает манипулировать тобой.
So this mind is trying to manipulate you.
Так же, как вот часто дети манипулируют родителями.
So, in the similar way as little children try to manipulate their parents.
В магазине закатывают истерику, хочу
So this little child throws a tantrum in the grocery store.
пистолетик.
So, and I want you to buy me a toy,
Купили ему пистолетик.
or in the toy store. Yeah. So he finally gets his parents buy this little toy, this little gun for him, toy gun.
Говорит, опа, механизм понятен.
And then this little child says, okay, now I get the mechanism.
Хочет еще что-то, закатывает истерику.
Now he says, okay, now I want another thing. I will throw a tantrum.
Вот то же самое, по идее, с нашим умом.
And with our mind, it's the same.
Но если вы такой мудрый родитель, вы говорите, ты тут побейся в истерике и приходи, я буду в следующем отделе.
But if you are wise parents, you would say, okay, so yeah, I don't mind. You can throw a tantrum. I will just wait for you there, and that's fine.
А без зрителей ему неинтересно.
But if there is no audience, then all the interest gets lost for this little child.
Ну, ребенок не будет вот просто так сидеть, орать, да, то есть.
This little child is not going to throw a tantrum just like that without any audience around.
Ему надо, чтобы кто-то при этом присутствовал, чтобы на кого-то это произвело впечатление. Но
He needs to impress someone.
это, в принципе, также и взрослые часто делают.
Also, adults do that oftentimes.
Вот. То есть не позволяйте уму стать вот таким капризным ребенком.
So do not allow your mind to be such a capricious child.
То есть вот в той же медитации полный игнор того, что он пытается тебе высказать в процессе медитации.
So, for example, in this meditation that I mentioned, you ignore completely everything that the mind tells you during this process.
Я устал, я больше не могу.
I am tired, I cannot do it anymore.
Вот в той же планке, да, вы стоите. Можете стоять.
So, for example, you are performing this physical exercise. You can maintain this physical exercise.
Но чаще это ум говорит, я не могу, и вы с ним соглашаетесь.
But oftentimes the mind says, you cannot, or I cannot. You agree with him, with the mind.
Спинка прогибается, я там ухожу.
And then you change the posture, etc.
Потому что когда ум останавливается, там действительно чудеса какие-то происходят.
Because once the mind is stopped or gets stopped, the miracles start happening. So that was the next part I wanted to translate, and I think we'll do one more and maybe we finish for today. Just a moment.
Вы сами уже должны все это делать дальше. Но здесь вы...
Сейчас, потому что если я бросить там сразу там на сыроедение, я сейчас понимаю, что, наверное, мне будет трудно, будет откат, будет
Может быть.
виноват из себя начну. Там.
Yeah, so he says, so the next question is about failures. For example, someone wants to become a raw foodist, and then he asks, yeah, but I know that it will inevitably lead to those failure moments, and then when I have this failure, I will start kind of accusing myself, lose my self-confidence, etc.
Вот извини, сейчас маленькая остановочка. Вот на этих откатов, когда они происходят, не заморачивайтесь вообще. Вот...
So he says when these kind of falling down or failures occur, just don't assign to them any significance at all. Ignore them completely.
У многих как раз весь депрессняк начинается на этих откатах.
Because usually during these periods, many people get quite depressed.
То есть я там пытаюсь модно или как-то правильно питаться, и тут...
So I'm trying to get into a particular style of eating.
Вот я откатился.
And then I failed.
Какая я сволочь, как я там это самое, я слабак, я там...
And I am bad, I don't have willpower. That's kind of self-accusation.
Жалкая, ничтожная личность. Вот этого ни в коем случае. Откатились, и хрен с ним.
So you had this failure moment, and that's it. So just let it go completely, ignore it. Don't assign to it any significance.
Потом опять начинаете.
And then you start again.
То есть, ну, откатился. Ну, вот взять вот Иисусову молитву, да, то есть, Господи Иисусе Христе, Сыне Божий, помилуй меня грешного. И вот многие, читая вот эту молитву, чувствуют такую ущербность, да, помилуй меня грешного, я такой весь грешный, надо меня помиловать. А если начать, что вы говорите, ребят? А если начать разбираться вот с этой молитвой, да, вот смысл, помилуй меня грешного. Что такое помиловать?
So he says, even if we take traditional Orthodox Christian prayer, Lord Jesus Christ, have mercy on me, the sinner. Even if we take this original prayer and really get into the roots, into the original roots of the words, okay, he mentions Russian roots specifically, then the meaning will be...
Милость. Простить. Нет.
Милый, кто такой милый? Вот, любимый, миловаться, любить, помилуй, полюби меня. Грешного это не то, что я там в аду должен гореть, а грех это просто по-гречески это промах. Но я...
Yeah, so basically it just means it's a prayer that says, please love me despite my mistakes. Because like if we take the original word sin, like take its Greek rules, it just becomes some kind of mistake, some kind of something that you haven't noticed, kind of mistake that you did.
Промахнулся, оступился.
Yeah, so it basically means, oh Lord, just love me despite my mistakes.
Что в этом такого? Да? То есть
So basically, the bottom line, there is nothing serious in that.
полюби меня любого.
So it basically means, oh Lord, just love me however I am.
То есть тут ты делаешь то же самое. Я продолжаю себя любить любого, даже
And you are doing the same here. You are trying to love yourself, whatever happens.
промахнувшегося.
Even if you had some kind of drawbacks, some kind of little mistake.
Но я буду все делать для того, чтобы идти дальше, развиваться и взращиваться. Как...
But I'm going to do whatever I can in order to proceed, in order to go further, and in order to grow.
Ну, любое растение, любое жизненное что-то растет, вырастает. Даже кристаллы растут каменные.
Because every life form wants to grow, including plants, including even crystals.
Поэтому
складывается такое ощущение, что ходишь по кругу, то есть еще.
But then the other guy says, yeah, but I get an impression that I just go in circles, getting nowhere.
Раз пробуешь, откатываешься.
Because I'm trying again and then you get back. I'm trying again and make one step forward, another step back.
Еще раз пробуешь.
Не, извини, это не круг, это спираль.
So he says, no, it's not a circle, it's a spiral.
То есть ты делаешь круг, но следующий виток уже дистанция от того круга. То есть
So you do go by circles, but your next circle has particular distance from where you were before.
опять круг, ну то есть ты вот по этой спирали, как
And then you actually go up.
по пружинке, да?
So you go in a spiral.
Вот, вроде кажется то же самое, но вот сколько людей приезжает на випассану, они тоже говорят, ну, вроде то же самое, а я вижу, что нет, человек-то вообще.
Yeah, and it might look that it's just the same and you kind of work in a circle, but no. For example, lots of people come to me here to do Vipassana meditation and they say, yeah, it's just the same. But I can see from my viewpoint that it's not the same.
Еще же поменялся. Как
Like the people really get changed.
он сидит, как пространство даже вот меняется, когда
The way how they sit, the atmosphere around them.
вот такие люди приезжают, очень сильно. Поэтому не думайте, что вы по кругу
So never think that you just go in circles.
бегаете. То есть хоть немножко, но следующий цикл у вас вот с теми же откатами. Я что-то делал, сорвался, пришел как бы к стартовой точке. Но
Yeah, so because it might look like I did something and then I had this failure and now I'm at the starting point again, exactly at the same place.
у меня что появилось? Самое бесценное, у меня появился опыт.
But what did I gain? And that is priceless. I gained experience.
Опыт этого отката. То есть
I gained experience of this particular failure.
то, что со мной случилось что-то не то, я это принимаю к сведению.
So something happened that was not right. I'm aware of it.
И пытаюсь изменить. Я
And I'm trying to change it.
опять начинаю, но я уже с этим опытом делаю.
So I'm starting again, but having this experience, I'm doing it again now.
И вот есть такая маленькая хитрость, могу вам посоветовать.
And then I also want to share this little life hack with you, little sly thing, if you could say that.
Позвольте себе этот срыв.
Just allow yourself this particular failure.
Вот ты, например, переходишь на какой-то вид питания или
For example, you want to transition to a certain style of food
там на нееду,
or abstinence from food.
а я сорвусь.
And then you say to yourself, yeah, I will have this failure.
Вот такого-то числа я, сорвусь.
Yeah, at this particular date, this particular certain date, I will have this falling down, this failure.
20 числа я сорвусь,
On the 20th, I for sure I will have this failure.
точно сорвусь, вот гадом буду сорвусь. И приходит 20 число, ты такой, что ты уже вот этот срыв выработал.
Энергию
Да.
Yeah, and then the 20th comes, and you kind of you have already lived through this failure before that.
Да. А когда приходит время к этому срыву, то нахрена мне надо, я нормально.
Yeah, and then when this particular time that you assigned for that comes, you kind of think to yourself, yeah, there's no need to fail. I'm fine.
И ты проходишь вот это состояние, и уже у тебя там не на один виток, а сразу там
and then you pass this particular point, and by that you do not only do you raise yourself to the next layer of this spiral, you jump several layers. You get to a much higher point.
спираль такая растягивается. Вот это
So this spiral gets extended.
тоже можно попробовать.
So you can try it as well.
То есть самый страшный грех в Библии это уныние.
So basically, in the Bible, the most serious sin is to get down in terms of your mood, to get frustrated, to get upset.
Поэтому сорвался, не сорвался, чтобы как бы ты ни оступился, никогда не унывай.
So never get upset, whatever happens, whether you failed, whether you didn't fail, never get upset.
Стремления продолжаю дальше.
Just keep the intention and go further.
Ну, в любой там спорте, да, там, ну, пришел ты в секцию бокса, тебе в морду дали, и ты в унынии, все, больше не пойду. Да там
Yeah, because just think that, for example, you're going into this boxing class, and then you get few hits in the face, and then you get all frustrated and upset. I will never do it again.
постоянно помурите.
But you will experience all those hits all the time there while boxing.
А понимаешь еще в чем дело? Жена при этом страдает. Она каждый раз не знает, готовить мне вечером, не готовить. Продолжаю я голодать. Или же закончил, он говорит,
Yeah, and then the guy says, but you know what the problem is? My wife suffers a lot from that because she never knows whether to prepare anything for me or not, whether I will stop my fasting or I will continue fasting.
с тобой как на вулкане, говорит.
And then she says, it's like a volcano with you. I never know what will happen.
Подожди, смотри.
Тема, можно это?
Ага.
Ставишь себе срок, неделя, 2 недели, всем оповещаешь об этом.
And then the other guy says, yeah, but in this case, you have to define certain period of time, such as 1 week, 2 weeks. You announce it,
И как бы они поддерживают тем, что ожидают твой выход.
and then if people support you, then you get particularly even more encouragement from that.
Это один вариант, но
So that's one option, he says.
смотрите, что я вот всегда как бы придерживаюсь, вот я когда захожу, например, и раньше заходил в отказ от еды, я себе сроков не ставил.
But for example, he says, in my case, every time I get into the periods of abstinence from food, I never define any particular amount of length of time to go.
Я просыпаюсь, продолжаю.
So I get up in the morning, I continue, get up in the morning, continue.
Просыпаюсь, потому что часто вот, когда вы делаете себе какую-то планочку, во-первых, у вас могут быть силы перешагнуть эту планочку.
Because oftentimes when you limit yourself, when you limit yourself by time, first of all, you might have enough power, enough ability to go over it and to extend it.
Но то, что вы поставили себе вот этот срок, вы говорите, ну все, я дошел до этой планочки.
But the very fact that you set a particular amount, particular finishing line, you just say to yourself, okay, so I achieved it, now I can break it. I can break my fast.
Если вы по состоянию, да нормально.
But if you judge according to your state, your inner state, or the state of your body, you are fine.
Вот как в планке в этой стоишь, нормально, могу.
It's like this particular physical exercise that he mentioned. So I am in this exercise and I feel fine.
Это что? Он говорит, не можешь. Да почему не могу? Стоишь, нормально, могу это что? Он говорит, не можешь.
And then the mind says, no, you cannot proceed further.
Да почему не могу-то?
But why not?
Могу.
Of course I can.
И стоишь.
And then you continue. You continue performing this exercise.
Вот так же и здесь. Можно, да,
So it's the same here.
как вариант, это такое как бы поддержка зрителей получается, да, то есть ты заявляешь о том, что тоже такой вариант, ты подпитываешься как бы еще их энергией, особенно.
Yeah. So one of the options is it's really to announce that I'm going to fast such and such time, and then you even get encouraged. You get you get nourished by support of other people.
Если тебя там поддерживают твои домашние,
Ну да, намерение.
да.
So by the intentions of the people around.
Но часто бывает и не поддерживают, поэтому там можешь не говорить.
But oftentimes they do not support you, so it just it doesn't work all the time.
То есть эти оба варианта как бы могут существовать.
So both of those options, they are valid.
Но вот насчет выхода, да, с женой, например, да, а что беспокоиться? Там готовить-то для выхода вообще ничего не надо.
But in terms of breaking the fast, what exactly do you have to worry about in relation to your wife? Because you don't really need to prepare anything serious if you want to break your fast.
Не надо жарить гуся, там,
It's not that you have to prepare some food, fry different foods.
курицу запекать, да. Смузи сделал, все.
You can just go with the smoothie and that's it.
Взял капусточку, водички, в блендере, вот тебе.
Yeah, you just take, for example, you take a cabbage, some water, blend it together, and that's it.
Выход. Ешь, хроняка. Вот. Для жены, успокой жену, скажи, вот я выхожу вот на такой фигне, сделайте это 2 секунды. Даже
So just calm down your wife and tell her, yeah, so that's going to be the food that I'm going to break my fast with. It's exactly 2 seconds to prepare.
ты сам можешь сделать, жену вообще не напрягай.
You don't even have to ask her.
И она расслабилась, ты расслабился по
And then she gets relaxed and you get relaxed
поводу того, что она
because she got relaxed.
расслабилась.
И вот эту капусточку вместе съесть надо. Ну, вот сделал, когда блендер.
Ну, может
да?
быть, жена и не будет есть.
Нет,
Вместе
я не
не
про
надо.
жену говорю.
Я
говорю
понял.
сам, когда на выход, и вместе вот с этим съесть, да?
Да.
Yeah, and then you just eat this blended thing and that's it. Okay, guys, so let's stop here. Maybe we will do another time where we will proceed. So I'm stopping sharing my screen. Okay, cool. So guys, give me some feedbacks. How was it for you? What did you learn?
I really enjoyed listening to him. He's always got a very calm, level-headed, practical approach to things.
Yeah,
So-
yeah, I find it too. It's amazing.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. He really's got like a Zen mind in a way, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I especially like this part about non-identifying with the mind, with what our mind tells us, because our mind can tell us many, many things. So yeah, and this analogy with this little kid who is throwing a tantrum in the store.
That's a very good way of looking at it. Eh? I've always felt that one should never eat if one is disturbed or have just had a fight, or even prepare food for other people if you're in a bad mood or in a negative state of consciousnness, you know.
I think in the Hare Krishna movement they address they assign lots of significance to, because food is a really important part of their culture there. So I think they have special training of cooks how to remain positive. Yeah, because you were in touch with them, so you probably know. Have you ever, while being there, prepared some food?
Ever prepared some food? Yeah. I lived with my wife at the time in a temple, and even before that, I spent a couple of months in another temple and actually met her there. And then we spent some time in another temple. Yeah. Anyway, yes, and we even prepared some food for a visiting Swami. That was quite nice. Yeah, and you know, we were preparing food for the altar, and it's a lovely thing. Actually, it's all very ritualistic, and you get in a devotional mood. And you're right, they've got quite a culture of preparation of food and offering the food to the deity, and to them it's not food. Hey, you know, you're eating the remnants of the offering, so the Lord is eating it. And yeah, it's all quite beautiful. I love it.
Wow, amazing. So Rory, what do you remember anything else from this video that touched your heart?
I'm a bit sleepy, so it's like, although focusing, I'm just right now I'm a little bit tired. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, the second wind thing was very interesting. I've definitely noticed that within myself. You know, when you're doing sports, somehow you get into the zone and you're able to really connect with your body. It is really much like you, your mind disconnects and you forget about your issues at the time. And it's even like that with fasting. At the moment, I'm noticing so many things with my body. Today I was at the gym. I also went to the gym 4 times this week. Gyms have opened up now, lockdown during, we've
That's
entered a
good.
different layer of lockdown. And for me, I found going to gym is much more easier for me than trying to exercise at home. I just can get a good workout on all the machines, and I'm really enjoying the experience.
Yes.
And some of the things I'm practicing is definitely trying to go into the body, into that state, you know, where I picked up another tip where you can breathe into the muscle, you know, so you know, practicing this kind of lifestyle, you know, you become conscious with each breath, and you kind of imbue your body with more prana, almost like a qigong kind of exercise, you know. So
Yes.
I do Yogananda, you know, we've spoken about Yogananda, and he's got those energization techniques. So I'm practicing that twice a day, and also twice a day doing meditation.
Yes.
And yeah, in short, it's quite a grounding experience and quite a nourishing experience. And I think I'm trying to really bring that into my fasting now, is to be more grounded. Hey, like I do a lot of walking in nature barefoot now, and you know, all these other useful tools that are not just fasting. Hey, it's
Exactly.
but you always spoke about when we've connected right from the beginning, actually, you know, that I got that from you, that this is just, fasting is just one tool, and there's so many other
Right.
tools. And it's very nice actually to hear Sat Marga speak about it, that meditation is so important and so vital. And Elitom Elamine also speaks about that it's the foundation of this lifestyle.
Exactly.
And it's a very grounding experience, actually. And you look at Sat Marg, he's totally grounded. And one
Right.
just gets this idea, okay, well, he's not, his head's not up in the clouds. He's actually one of the most grounded people you could hear speak.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So that's all interesting. And it's about getting back into your body, about leaving the mind behind. I think that's what a take-home message from this video is for as well. What I got from this is that, yeah, actually, you know, it's about going beyond the mind and also being more incarnated physically in your body. Yeah, which is really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Laura, so do you have anything to share? Something that touched your heart, gave you some inspiration from the video?
Yes, I agree that what I took away was the mind connection as well. That it is huge, you know, to separate the mind from the body, and
Yes.
and the child having a tantrum. I could totally relate to that, because my son used to have them all the time, and it was awful.
Really? Wow.
And so
Okay.
I like the way he dealt. You know, he says the best way to deal with it, and you know, yeah, I wish I had known that at the time. Yeah, so I agree. Like there are many times that I eat when I'm not even hungry. I just think, oh, you know, I should eat now because I haven't had too much today.
Yes.
But I don't feel hungry. So I kind of override my body with my mind
Yeah.
and my taste buds, you know. So that's a struggle for me. So I think the meditation, I need to learn how to do that, you know, more. You know,
Yeah.
like what you
Yeah.
suggest, noticing what comes up and staying with it and letting it pass, kind of.
Yeah. If you want, you can contact me privately, and I will give you some tips, or I can give you some sources to learn from that are very good. Yeah, it is very powerful. It is a long process of training the mind not to identify with what comes, but in my opinion, it is one of the most important skills that we can develop, because otherwise we just become kind of slaves or whatever comes, you know, different moods, different thoughts. So it's definitely worth the effort you put into that.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, I will definitely contact you.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, guys, so I think we will wrap it up for today. It was so I will just put all our discussion and everything just for everyone in the group to get inspired. And yeah, so thank you very, very much. Have a great weekend and a nice week. So then see you next
you,
week,
Anu.
hopefully.
Thank you, Eric.
Thank you so
Bye.
much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Laura. Bye.
Thank you, guys. Bye bye. Good night. Bye.